So welcome. In this lecture we will talk about four interesting terms: ANOVA, MANOVA, ANCOVA and MANCOVA. Let's first talk about the very two first ones, ANOVA and MANOVA. Now what is difference? ANOVA is analysis of variance and MANOVA is multivariate analysis of variance. Okay, now one way where you have one factor, two way where you have two factor. I continue with the same example that we took in a previous class where we talked about variance, covariance, because both of these lectures are highly integrated. So understanding one without other would be incorrect way of talking about it. So let's say factor and its response variable. So response variable is obviously the dependent variable and factor is the independent variable. So far it's very clear. Now again there would be a factor and the response variable here, factor and a response variable here, or the dependent and the independent variables. I could write those as dependent or independent factors as well. Now since it's analysis of variance, I am just considering one factor, that is duration of study and its impact onto the score. Clear? So this is how many hours a child study. Based on that, how much score the child obtains. Under this, I let's say have 90 students. I break them in groups of 30 students each and I compare these groups. So there are two ways of comparison that would go here. One is between the groups, that is between 30, 30 and 30, and one is within the group, within these 30, within these 30 and within these 30. If there is any variance or any error in either of these, I would try to identify those, and that would be my focus under ANOVA. Now, what would happen under two-way ANOVA? Two-way, so two independent factors. One is the duration of study and how a teacher teaches in a classroom. Probably that could be another factors. So teacher's contribution we can say here would be another contribution, and based on that, what is the score? So here I am taking two factors into account and the effect of those two factors onto the response or the dependent variable. So this is what is ANOVA, which we have already covered in our previous sessions as well. Coming on to MANOVA, our focus of this class is to understand covariance. So this is just a beginning. We'll dive into covariance from here, right? So here, what is the factor? I have one factor, so that is again the duration of study. But based on that, I am not just seeing the score of a child, but I am seeing also how well placed the child could be. So what kind of job a child can get. So with this duration, I am trying to study two responses and therefore it is called as multivariate. It's not just one. I am studying two dependent variables dependent on one independent factor, but this one independent factor would be again in 3+ groups. Okay. Now, when there can be cases where I talk about three-way ANOVA, four-way ANOVA. So there can be three factors, three different factors I am taking, four different factors I am taking, but those are relatively less common. Under two-way MANOVA, what would happen? I am taking the duration of the study, the teacher's contribution in the study, and the score of the child and the job. Now this duration affecting both of those and then teacher's role affecting both of those. So it is again multivariate because I am studying two dependent variables. I am seeing the impact on two dependent variables. Now the same thing would happen in ANCOVA and MANCOVA.